All right. Good evening and welcome, everyone. Welcome to today's session. I hope you're ready to learn more after what you learned in the morning. Please go ahead and drop a message on the Discord group telling everyone that the class has started and they can go ahead and start joining. Now, on the call with me is Donald. Donald is going to be our instructor for this evening. Donald is also a product designer slash firmware developer as well. So, hi, Donald. Thank you for coming on this session.
Hi, hello, good evening. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
All right, thank you too.
Why start?
Sure, you can go ahead and start, Donald.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Good evening. Like she said, my name is Donald. Um, I'm a product designer, web designer slash developer. I develop websites and framework for clients and businesses alike. Um, I'm happy to be here. Happy to share small nuggets I have about framework. And today we'll be talking about layouts and sizing. Um, just to give a brief oversight of what we'll be doing today, we'll be talking about constraints and positioning, using the pin tool, how to use the pin tool, types of positioning we have. Also talking about understanding layout, how to use frames, starts, when to use them, in what cases to use them. We'll also be talking about resizing elements and responsive design. And if there's enough time, we'll do a little class practice where we design a responsive hero section that will be responsive on the web desktop, tablet, and mobile. This is going to be a very, very practical class. So I hope you guys are tracking and ready. So let's start with understanding constraint and positioning. So I'll just go ahead and close this and share my favorite screen. So we just start from there. All right. If you can see my screen, I'd like to just get something in the chat. You can hear me fine. I have to get something in the chat too.
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay, fine.
We can see your
Perfect.
screen, Donald.
All right. So starting with constraints and positioning, learn how to position elements basically is really, really important in framework because when we are developing websites, we are developing across different breakpoints. Breakpoints meaning devices. So when you develop a website, you assume that your users or people that are visiting your site are not only viewing on maybe phone or tablet, they are viewing across multiple devices with multiple sizes in terms of width and height. So you have to design with this in mind and make sure your elements size properly and they're positioned in the right way. So by default, all our elements are free on the canvas and they're not bound to any position. So they're just there, like example, this rectangle is just on its own. It's not bound to any side, it's not bound to anything, it's just free on the canvas. By applying constraints to our elements, we are binding them to particular direction and we are binding it by particular number of pixels. So for example, this this is working. Sorry, give me one second. Let me share my task.
Um, Donald, if you can hear
Yeah.
me, there's this particular background noise.
background noise.
Yes, sort of clicking or tapping kind of noise.
Okay. I think that's my trackpad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can see your screen now.
Okay. Just give me 1 second. Let me delete this. Yeah. All right. So we're back. So by default, talking about constraints, we use this is what we use to apply constraints to our element, objects and text layers and shapes and whatever. You use this pin tool. It's called a pin tool. So just imagine, or the real life scenario to this will be you standing in a position, and for example, you're free. Imagine you standing on your own. You're free. Nothing is dragging you. Nothing is holding you down. But then imagine if somebody drags your left hand and your left leg and holds it to the left position, right? You are not able to move to the right. And when the person holding you moves to the left, you have to follow the person to move to the left. So that's what this means. So when I apply use this point to apply a left direction to my element, you can see now that there is a little dotted blue line that shows that this box, this rectangle is bound to the left side of the flow. And what this means is when we resize our element, we resize it to the right, you see how every other thing resize it while this stays in place. And when you resize it to the left, you see how it follows the frame itself, right? So that's what constraint does. Constraint keeps your element in a particular position in respect to a particular number of pixels. So the pin tool is directional, meaning you can use it in different directions. You can apply it to the left and right, you can apply it to the top and bottom. And you can apply it all around at the same time while having the same effect. So if I apply this all around, if I apply this all around, it will mean that just apply to the left and right. So you see how left is dragging it to the left, while it's staying in place at the left, while it's also constrained to the right. So when I drag it on the right, it stretches, right? So that's what constraint means. Constraint is just your element being constrained to a particular side of the frame by a particular number of pixels, right? So we'll come back to this and we'll see this happen live in practical. So moving over to positioning. In frames, we have different types of positioning. We have four different types. We have the fixed positioning, the absolute, the relative, and sticky. So we'll take two for now, the first two for now. So positioning in a frame, right? In a frame, we have two positionings that are available to us. That's the absolute positioning and the fixed positioning. So in the fixed positioning, your element is basically fixed. And let's present the type this so you can see. So your element is basically fixed, and when you scroll or move other elements, it doesn't budge, it doesn't move, it stays in place. So wherever you put it and you fix it, that's where it's going to stay. While absolute positioning is just the default type of positioning, and it gives you freedom to position your element anywhere on the canvas, right? So I position my element here, it stays here, and it obeys that position. So that's what we call absolute position. And these two, like I said, these two positions are what are available for just basic frame, putting your elements in the frame. And if we move over to relative positioning, relative positioning and relative positioning and sticky, they work stack. So we'll get there in a second. So now let's go back to stack, right? So to understand stack, it's just basically the same thing as auto layout in Figma. If you heard of Figma, if you are familiar with Figma, what we have groups in Figma. We have frames and we have auto layout. They have their use cases. They have where they are all applicable and where you can use them best. So we have the same thing in Framer, but we just have two. We have the frame for grouping element, and we have the stack. Stacks is just the same thing as popular, but with a different name. So for this now I have the box and the text in the frame, right? So this is not an auto layout, it's not bound by anything, it's just a frame. You can see now that in this frame, you can move things around, you can move this text up, and basically it's still free. You can move things around and you can just position it wherever you like. And here is where actually positioning works. Relative positioning. So relative positioning will also work in stacks and also work in frames. And I'll get to that in a second. Then we have stacks. Stacks are, this is a frame. To turn a frame to a stack, you just right click and right click on your frame, you go down to stack, add a stack. So it converts your frame to a stack. And then this layout of properties pop up. Let me just break here and say if I'm too fast, if it's something you need me to come back on, just kindly just notify me in the chat and I'll do the best to do one. I don't know if I'm going too fast. So let's continue. So let's try this again. In a frame, like I said, frames are just like groups or frames in Figma. So we have frame. Frames, elements inside a frame, you can position them anywhere. They're free. It's just like the canvas itself. While elements in a stack are just like auto layout. They're fixed. You have to control them using a specific set of properties. And to get a stack in your in Framer, you just take your frame, you take your frame and you right click and you come down here to add stack. You add a stack. You can use this, or you take your frame. When you click on your frame, you come down to this layout. You see this plus icon and you click it, and it opens up this set of properties. And now your frame is now a stack. The frame is now a stack, right? So in a stack, we have directions. You can position your stack horizontally or vertically. Right now it's horizontal, right now it's vertical. You can distribute it to have spacing like in the center or at the end. You can distribute it to start at this, have spacing at the start, have spacing at the center, or space in between, space around, space evenly. So this there are different types of space distribution, and I think the best way to put it, or the best way you can understand it, is when we actually put this light into practical, right? So we just come back to this later. So also alignment, you can align them to the right, the left. I think using, let's group these two in a frame and use this to show a perfect example. So to take this, I'll take this stack itself, this stack of two rectangles and this text element, and group them, turn them to a stack, right? So now they have this property. You can align them to the left, align them to the center, align them to the right. You can also wrap. Wrap means your text after a particular setup with it comes to the next line, and we'll talk about that too in a second. Also, the gap is just to specify the amount of spacing in between elements. So for here, maybe we want 40 the gap, we want 80 the gap. It just specifies it, right? Also, padding is like just specifying the amount of padding you want in the amount of padding you want in your stack, the amount of padding you want around the stack. So you can use like 20 padding all around that. You see there is like a padding here. I don't know if this is visible enough. Let me change this color so you can see. Perfect. So you can see now that we have padding around this stack. You can also individually change the padding if you want the top to have more padding than the rest. And just put 40 here and you see you have padding. So that's what layout, that's how to just like configure stuff. There are a lot of properties to play around with, and a lot of use cases to apply different properties to. So moving on to positioning in a stack. So earlier I mentioned the two types of positioning we have, and the four types of positioning. I mean, You have the fixed, the absolute, the relative, and sticky. And I mentioned that in the frame, you're only given two types of position, or two types of position only work. That's the fixed and the absolute. While in a stack, you can you are now open up to like relative position. So what relative positioning just means is maintaining the position in relation to whatever order you choose to place your element in your stack, right? So this rectangle, for example, now we choose to have it as relative, right? So it's maintaining a relative position, and we choose it to be top here. So in the order of things in this stack, this frame comes first, and that's this rectangle. Then the text comes second. So it's obeying the order of things in this stack in relation to the whole stack. If, for example, I add two more boxes and I add two more text, and I say I want one box, one text, one box, one text. Everything, the way I position it here on this layout panel, they obey the same positioning because it's in a relative position, right? So they obey that same positioning and they don't like change, or they don't like go away from that same order, right? So that's what relative positioning just means. It's like maintaining a specific position in relation to whatever order you choose to place it in your layers panel. Then sticky positioning is um, like the name implies, you're making something stick until that particular frame is done. And I'll explain that in a bit. So, like the name implies, you are keeping your particular element, keeping it at the top of the viewport until all the content inside this stack has been scrolled past. So the best way to visualize this is for us to present this and for you to see. So right now, I'm keeping this my box. I have applied the stick positioning to it, right? So as you can see now, inside this stack, we have a box and all of this text, right? But now since we've applied a stick positioning to this box, the box doesn't move or budge until all of this text has been scrolled past and the whole frame is done. That's when the box now chooses to move up and go past the viewport, right? When I say viewport, I just mean the um, the height of your device screen, or the view, or the breakpoint you're working with. So the height without scrolling, just the height you see without scrolling. So while I'm scrolling, this box is just in its particular position and it's not moving. It's stuck until all the content inside that particular stack has been scrolled past. That's when the box now continues to scroll. And this helps in a lot of ways. And while you are developing websites, I think sticky positioning you are going to use a whole lot of time, and it's really like important, or it's really nice to really understand it. And it doesn't really take much to understand it. So let's continue. I'm trying to go very fast, or as fast as I can, so we can get to like the juicy part, that's like the practical part, where we put this into practice and understand more. So let's go back to sizing. So now, understanding sizing, we have different types of sizing. We have the fixed sizing unit, we have the relative, we have the fill, and we have the fit content. So fixed sizing units are just basically pixels, like the ones you use at Figma. So for example, this box is 233 pixels, and that's just that for the box, right? Um, Relative sizing are measured in percentage, right? And the best way to explain this is to group this box and this text into a stack to fit content, or for example, yeah. So they are both in a stack now. The box and the text is in a stack. And we change this to relative position. Relative position just means that a particular element will occupy a particular percentage of the parent element. When I say parent stack, I mean this stack that's grouping the box and the text. So now I want this box to be taking up 50% of this particular width. You can see now it's 50% of the particular width, and you just sorry. Let's try 100%. Okay, let's start from 100%. 100% is taking up the full width of the parent container, taking up the full width of the parent container. And this just means that whatever size I stretch this to, this box will always take up the full width of the container, no matter what the size is. But when I take it like 50%, it reduces and takes up, it always takes up half of the container width. Right? It always takes up half. So this is really applicable when you are like bringing your elements down to maybe your tablet and your mobile, and your screen is getting smaller. You want your text to occupy a specific part of your viewport or your screen. You don't want it to be in pixels. The best way to use responsive designs are always using percentage, because they obey that percentage. So instead of me using 233 pixels, I'm going to use 50%. That means whatever breakpoint this is always going to respond to 50% of the particular stack, right? So like this text too now, this text is fit right now. Let's turn to relative. Relative means it's taking up 50%. If we're using relative to take up 50% of it, you see right now that is the text will wrap because it's taking up only 50% of the whole parent container. So that's relative positioning. Now moving on to fill. Fill, the best way to understand fill is, like the name implies, when I apply a fill sizing to an element, it fills whatever container is in. So this box right now, if I apply a fill, okay, I want it to be fill. It fills the container. So I think let's add a color to this so we see this very well. Yes. So right now we have a container, a white container, and now this is filling the whole white container. And no matter where I drag this to, right, no matter where I drag this to, it will always fill that container. It will always fill this container. So that's just the best way to understand it. Fill, like the name implies, it just fills whatever container it's in, right? Then going on to fit content. Fit content, best way I can explain it, fit content always applies to parent layers. Parent layers meaning like whatever, like for example, now this stack has a box in it and a text in it. And I want this the stack itself to hug the contents of this box, right? Let's take this out and reduce this so I can illustrate this better. So now we have a container that is bigger than the content that's inside. The best way to hug this thing is to just apply a fit content to the container itself. Now the containers, like, it reduces and it hugs whatever content is inside. So now it's responding in relation to the content that is inside. Now it doesn't have a size of its own. It forms with whatever content that's inside. So as long as I keep writing, as long as I keep expanding this content, the container itself will keep expanding. Why? Because it's in fit content, right? So that's just the best way to explain it. And yeah, I will see this happen better in the live design. Then let's see. So yeah, that's like sizing. Then responsive sizing, we have what we call breakpoint. We have 4 different types of breakpoint. Initially, it was about 3, but when you are designing for like larger, when you want to consider all device types, think you should start with 4. So the 4 we have are the 1440. That's like the largest desktop size you can think of. And you have your desktop 1200. So this is the desktop 1200. Then you have your tablet. So, and then you have your mobile. So what breakpoint means is for a particular set of width, you are designing for that particular breakpoint. Breakpoint is from, for example, now this desktop 2 is from 1439 down to 1200. So for any device that has a width between 1439 and 1200, this design will always apply to it. And in tablet, for any device that identifies as a tablet and has from 810 up to 100 or 1199, this is whatever you design here is what will apply to it. And we'll see this happen. Just let me show the screen. You can see my screen. So we'll see this happen here, where we'll design um, this hero section. So we're going to design this hero section, and we design for both desktop, we design for both the two types of desktop, design for the tablet, and then we design for the mobile. So let's just start. Best way to start, what's the best way to start? Start with the blank canvas, right? Before I start, let me check if I have questions. Okay. Why are we using Framer instead of Figma? Since Figma has everything we are copying from. Secondly, can we edit our projects after publishing? Okay. Sorry about the background noise, by the way. I don't know how to rectify this. I don't know how loud it is.
We can hear you despite the noise, no worries.
So why are we using Framer instead of Figma? Since Figma, there's a plugin that is really accessible, where you use just copy your designs from Figma down to Framer. But why I'm using Framer is for this demonstration and for this teaching, just so I get down to the basics and so you see how it works. Because even when you copy designs from your Figma, it's not just going to be like paste, copy and paste. You are still going to have to resize a lot of elements because Figma is not, you're not designing for breakpoints in Figma. Like Figma is a design tool. I can illustrate this better when I show you now. But I'll start with a fresh design from Framer. Then we'll do like from Figma to Framer, so you see what I'm talking about. Then secondly, can we edit our project after publishing? Yes. Framer, the beautiful thing about Framer, or the best thing about Framer, is it takes you just 3 seconds to publish your design, and also takes you less than 3 seconds to edit. So the process is after you publish your design, if you made a mistake somewhere you edit, you can just edit, like make your and click on publish, and it immediately and automatically just publishes the new thing. And you just have to go to your browser and refresh, and the changes will just pop up. So enough of the speaking. I think we can start the design now. So we'll just be designing this fintech hero section, better banking for you and your loved one. It has a picture, hero picture here. It has CTAs. So I think the CTAs are like get it on Google Play and App Store CTAs. I already downloaded this picture on my device, so just be copying it. So the first thing first is the navbar. So navbar, let's just start with navbar. You can start with a frame. Let's just start with a frame. We'll have first of all, we have to change this to 1440, then duplicate this and bring out the 1200 breakpoint, then bring out the tablet and also the mobile. So we are seeing all our breakpoints as we are working and we are making edits accordingly. So this is our navbar. Let's name this navbar. Then the next thing is your text, Herox, services, publishing, all that. So let's just start Herox. For this explanation or for this illustration, I'll just be using enter. So we go really fast and we just get through this early. So your text is here. So since we are designing in a frame, we'll just take this and put it inside the frame itself. So our text is inside our frame. Notice that we haven't turned this into a start yet. So now if we turn it into a start, this frame now we just come here, click on this plus, and you see now that our text has been like we have added an auto layout to the frame itself, and now the text inside are obeying the positioning of the text of the auto layout. So what we just do is we just go to these properties and just try to apply some properties to it. So let's start with keep it at the start. Then we'll have maybe like a 80%, 80 pixel spacing between these two. This would be our logo. Then padding. Let's just add padding on the left. Adding 40% padding on the left. Services, get this 3 times. And now you see how our text, let's go back. You see how our text is obeying the properties of the stack itself. So we'll have to reduce this. Let's come here and just check. This services is like 14. We have pricing, portfolio, contact us, about us. So we reduce this down to 14. Take this down to 24. Services, portfolio. Portfolio, contact us, about us. So what we do now, we want this nav links to have a group of their own. So we just select them and then add them in a frame. You can add a frame or you can immediately just add a stack because I think we'll need a stack for this nav link. So let's just go ahead with the stack. So now we've added a stack, but the frame of the stack now is too much. We want the width to hug the content inside. So from fixed width now, we change it to fit content. So you see automatically the width of the frame itself, the stack frame itself, hugs the individual text that are inside. Then we now come here and do the same thing for the height. So the height will also hug. So it happens horizontally and vertically. Then we now apply maybe spacing. We space them and adjust them accordingly. Now you see how they come together. They are come together nicely. This is a white nav bar. So we have to remove the blue color and make this a white. Let's just turn this to white. And then we have one last thing to add. That's our button. So our button, we can bring this out. So we illustrate this better. I think. Yeah. So our button, what does our button say? Our button says register/login. So we just add register/login. Like the same way it happens in Figma, we just have to add a frame to this. When we add a frame to this, we also add a layout. So now it's a stack. So we can now add padding, whatever padding is on the button, we can add it. So let's come to this button and check. So we have the 38 pixel padding on the left and right. We have the 16.5 top and bottom. You can round out to like 17 or round it back down to like 16. So come here, come to the padding, set individual padding. Left and right is 38. The top and bottom is 16. But you see, as we've added the paddings, they are not still working. The paddings are not taking effect. Why? Because this width is the width of the stack itself is fixed. So anytime you add a stack or anytime you add a frame, anytime you add a stack, you have to always come here and click on fit content. You need to fit the content. You need the parent stack, the stack itself, to obey the properties that you are applying to the stack. So you have to use fit content so it can obey. So now we have fit content, and now you see has been applied. So we just take this color and put it here. So we get the whole now been applied. We just add the border radius. That's like 16. So we change this color to what? Change the text color to white. But now we want our button to be at the top at the far left, far right. I mean, while our nav links and our hero logo is at the far left. So what we just do in this stack. Now in this stack we have nav links as a stack in a stack. Then we have our button as a stack in the main stack. So now we have to also group the hero section and the logo. Why do I keep saying hero? So we have to group the logo and the nav link together in a stack. So everything is just putting stacks inside stacks, just like the same way it works in Figma, where you're putting auto layout inside auto layout, just so you can have efficient grouping and also be able to manage those grouping when it's needed. So now we want to also group logo and the nav link together. So what we just do, we just come here again and just add a stack to it, and now it's grouped. We do the same thing with fit content. We'll just click on fit content, the width fit content to the height. And now you have one group that's housing the logo and the nav links and then the button in that parent stack. So now you can now apply the space between. So you can distribute the spacing or distribute the elements inside a stack by using the space between. The space between will just, like the name implies, you just put whatever space, you just separate it into two and put them on two sides, right? So why this is at the edge is because there's no padding here. So let's just go ahead and add a 40 pixel padding. So now we have our register now and login, then we have this. So you see this spacing here, we still also have to come here and add maybe like a 32 pixel spacing, or let's say 48 pixel spacing. Now we have our hero section, right? Now we have to come back down to our devices to see if all of this has been checked out and if it works. So we are good on the desktop. We just have to now do this on tablet and mobile. So on tablet and mobile, like we all know, the nav links will be hidden. So you're just going to be applying them with a hamburger icon. So you have to bring in a hamburger icon. Just bring in like a feather icon here. So insert the feather icon, make this 24 pixel, 24 pixel, and then turn this to hamburger. Or list. Menu. Okay, so it's menu. So now what we just have to do, we hide this nav link. We'll have to hide the nav link so it's not visible on tablet and mobile. So you come here and just click on hide. You can also use your command column to hide your any element. Also, you do the same thing for your button. You just click on hide, right? So now you have just your logo and you have your menu button that you use to open the nav, right? So we also have to come here and space it out. We space it. So columns, navbar is supposed to be relative, not fit, supposed to be relative and 100%. Yes. Then column start, right? Then apply. Um, okay, space between. Sorry about that. All right. So now we have our nav bar in our tablet, and we will also have to apply the same thing, do the same thing here in our mobile too. So we make this visible, and then we hide the nav link, then we hide the button also. So we are having our logo and our nav bar in one just visible. We've done the same thing for the tablet, so do the same thing for the mobile now. So we turn this width to fill. So keeping it as fill is making it the element to fill, like I said before, filling the content of the navbar. So now, same thing I did on the tablet. We turn this column that houses the logo and the hamburger menu to fill the content of the navbar itself, right? So you're filling the content of the navbar, and it's going to just occupy, and then you space between. So space between means you just space the two, and now you're having like your logo on the left and your hamburger on the right, right? Then I think we change this color to match the color of the button too. Just use your eyedropper and come here, click on this. Then we have we have our colors on the hamburger and the logo and everything. So now next thing to do is the main hero section. So coming here, what do we have? We have a rectangle, we have text, and we have button. So the first thing we do is having this container here. That's our rectangle. Use your F to draw your frame, and you have this rectangle. So this is what is going to house all of your content. So you just adjust it. So now, like I said before, the best way to use sizing, not to use fixed, the best way to use it is your relative. So as if you can see now, because this is using pixels, you see how it's taking 1360 on all devices, right? And it's exceeding the size of maybe the 1200 desktop and the tablet and the phone. But if I turn this now to relative, I say I want this to take up 94% of the width. You see how it applies to every screen, and you see how it doesn't go beyond 94% of the width, right? So on the desktop, whatever size it is, the square itself is going to take 94%, right? It's not going to go beyond 94%. On the phone, it's not going to go beyond 94%. So we can just come here and then adjust it. Like just note, changes you make on desktop, you cascade down to your phone. But if you make changes on the phone, it just stays, doesn't go up. So the changes are cascading down, but are not going the same way up. So I think that that's like a noteworthy thing to mention. You can adjust this to 90 here and come here to adjust this to 90. So we have enough spacing on the left and the right. Then change the color. You have to change the color to this. Change the border radius to let's see 12. Then you add your text. So what does it say? It says better banking for you and your loved ones. For you and your loved ones. So we increase this text. So let's say 32. Change it to bold. Yeah, let's use 48. So now we want this text to be constrained to the left, right, and the top, like the way it is here. You see how the text is at the left and the top by 64, at the top by 58. So we just come here and do the same thing. Using this your pen tool, just apply 58 at the top, 64 here, and you see how they balance. Then you can now use your you can change this to fixed so that you can now resize your text. You want your text to wrap, right? So when you're trying to use your trying to wrap your text, you use fixed position, fixed sizing to wrap your text. So you put it from one line to two lines. So better banking for you and your loved ones. So we have that, and that's like 72. 72. All right. Then we have Herox help businesses in Africa get paid. Let's just copy this and then duplicate this. Reduce the sizing to 32. Reduce the weight to medium, or let's say regular. What size it is? Okay, this is 20. Just eyeballing them. So yeah. Now we want to group this, but before we group it, let's add our button. So let's look for a button to add. Thankfully, Kramer gives us these types of buttons. So the App Store button and also the Google Play button. So we have the App Store. Just duplicate this and then change this to Google Play. So now we have all our elements. We need one more thing, and that's the image. So we just create a frame here. We create a frame, change this, and just bring out that image. So I downloaded the image previously, and this is it here. Sorry if I'm going fast. I'm just trying to speed this up so I can get questions, or I can take questions and possibly answer them before 9 o'clock. So yeah, we have this now. So now let's talk about grouping our elements, making them responsive, and yeah, making it better. So we have this. We have to group the hero text and this paragraph together. So you take the two of them, take your hero text and your paragraph, and you just add a stack to it. So you just double click or right click and you add a stack, right? When you add a stack, you do the same thing, you just fit content. When you fit content, then you can now change the spacing to like let's say 16 or better still 20, right? So it's obeying 20 spacing. So now we have a stack for our text. Let's rename this text. Then we can add a stack for our buttons too. So we group our two buttons together, double click and add a stack. Simple as that. So do the same thing within fit content. So now our buttons are in a stack. Let's separate them by let's say 16, right? So now we have a stack for our text and then a stack for our button. But we want to still group these two together so they are one. So you take your stack here and your stack here, and what do? You put them into another stack, right? So it's just like having auto layout and auto layout, like I said, it's like a repetitive process and it makes your work easier and faster. But now you've added a stack, right? You fit content but now your button is at the center. What do? You just come down here and change the alignment and positioning. Align them to the left. So everything is aligned to the left now. And then you give it a gap of, let's say, 24, or let's increase this to 40, right? So there's enough spacing. Now we come here, you see how um, our text is skewing, and our phone picture is appearing on top of the text. Why is that? Is because we don't have any constraints on this phone. So for the phone now, what we do is this stack we have here, we just turn it into relative, right? So we say, I want this text, this stack here, to take off 45% of the width, while the rest, I want the phone to take it off, right? 46%, right? So as you can see now, when you apply that, you see how the parent stack of this text is taking up 45% of the width, while this one is taking up 46%, and the rest is left for spacing and other things. So you come into your text layer now, and you see how the text is going beyond the width, it's entering inside. Why? Because like we have applied only 45% and it's obeying that 45%. What we can do now is to now fill the content of this text. Now we fill it so it obeys the parent layer. So this text now we fill it, it obeys the parent layer and it just comes down. Let me take that again. Sorry. So we fill the text and it takes the parent layer. Do the same thing for the body text. You turn this from fixed to fill, right? And you see how it's resizing perfectly. So for this, the desktop for 1200 is done. You see how it's like it's fresh and nice. Then you come down to your tablet. Well, your tablet now, you don't have enough real estate in terms of width. So what is the best thing to do? The best thing to do is to resize this to turn this into like horizontal instead of vertical. I mean, instead of horizontal. So from here, you just group this into a stack. Turn this into a stack by clicking Command Enter and changing this to layout, right? And then there's a stack here, also a stack here. So let's let me see. Okay, so we have a stack and then we have this text layer at the back. This rectangle, I mean, at the back. So what you just do is you take this rectangle inside here and just turn this into a stack. So all you're just doing is turning things into stacks and understanding how they're positioned. So coming back here, we turn this into a stack, and yeah. Then you can now come back to this green here and change this from a horizontal to let's say vertical, right? And then you fill the content. That's what you just do. You just fill the content. So this will start. This will go from center to start. Also, this will go from center to start, right? Then you fill the content. How do you fill the content? You just take this from 47, like this, you take it to 100, right? So this your text, the stack that's containing your text, your buttons, and your body is like you turn into 100. So it's relative sizing. Then your stack that has this green, yes, you add a padding to it. You add like let's say 24% padding. Then you make sure it's fit content. So it's fitting the. You make sure everything is fit content. Perfect. So this should be fit content too, and this should be 100%. Right. So only thing that's left is just the spacing. But let's give this a 40 pixel spacing, and then also give this a 40 pixel spacing. Change this direction. Change this from center to start. And change this from 47 to 100. And then you fill the content of the text. Make sure it's filling the parent layer, whatever parent layer it is in, you make sure it's filling the content. So you change it from fixed to fill, right? Then you reduce the size of this text from 72. Let's take it down to like 32 or 48. Yeah, 48. Also take this down from 20 to 16 so that it's visible on phone. And then come out to the green and make sure there's a padding of 20 around it. And yeah, we have these buttons. We also turn them vertical. Make sure this is not fixed. Make sure it's fit content. So it's filling all the content inside it is fit. Apply the same thing to the phone from 48 to 100. And then turn the layer itself to fit content. So that's the best thing to do. Yeah, let's reduce this image. Image is too big. Yeah. So we are almost done. Turn this from fit, from fit to add padding 20 to the top and bottom. So you can see what you can top 20 and 20. So yeah, on the desktop we have our auto layout. Just to recap, we have our text, two text in a stack. We have a button in a stack. Then we put the text stack and the button stack into one. Then we have our frame for our picture as a stack. Then we group them together, the left column and the right column as a stack too. Then this green background here, we turn into a stack that's going to house all of our content. And we'll add paddings to it here. Then we also use relative positioning to make sure that our left column is taking up a particular percentage of the screen. So there's space for the right column too. That's this phone is taking up another 48%. Then the remaining, because it's always 100%, then the remaining you just leave it to spacing and padding and all that. Then for the phone and tablet, since there's no real estate for the width, you turn them from horizontal, you turn it to vertical. So now you have the text, hero text on the body, then the buttons, and then the picture on that. And do the same thing for your phone. So yeah, I think that's all. Let me see if I have a question. Okay, how do I get my icon? So for Firma, there's always a icon asset in your panel that you can just use. So you just go to insert and click on icon. So you have a feather icon, you have a hero icon, you have even your Google material icon and your phosphor icon. So it's inbuilt in Framer, so you don't need to get icons from anywhere. I always use this icon packs here, right? So for the keyboard command, keyboard command, um, I'll shake it can be mitigated at some point. So for the keyboard commands, they are just really for frames. It's just control and enter to take a frame. For stacks, when you get a frame, you just come to this point where you have your layout and just use the plus icon. Or if you want to use the keyboard command, you see it here is option, command, and enter. For add a frame is command and enter, right? So these keyboard commands are here in Framer. Let me see if I can bring them up. The keyboard shortcut. So you can just go through it in your Framer. It's always there for you, and it's very easy to use keyboard commands to work. So it makes your work faster and makes your work easier, right? So yeah, I think that's all. We were able to achieve this under yeah 30 minutes, 15 minutes. Sorry if I was too fast. Sorry, I don't know any questions, anything. I would love to answer anything.
Okay. Thank you so much, Donald. Okay, you are not so fast, but even if you were fast, we get to watch the video again. I think there's one
Again and
question here.
again.
I said, please for positioning, what is viewpoint?
Viewport. So viewport is the device, whatever device you are using to view a site. The measurement from the top to the bottom is what they call viewport. So for example, on your phone, on your iPhone, let's say you are using like an iPhone. So from the top of your phone to the bottom of your phone where your browser stops without scrolling, that's what they call a viewport. So what you can see at a glance without scrolling. So for your desktop, for your laptop or computer, the screen size from the top to the bottom is what they call a viewport. So when you're saying you're putting something in a viewport, that means when you publish something or when you view something from the top to the bottom, it's what they call viewport. So like this, let me see if I can just show you here. Let's publish this. So we publish this and let's click the link. As you can see now, we have this link here and we have from the top to the bottom, right? Whatever you can see here without scrolling, this is what a viewport means. From here to here, from the top to the bottom. That's what a viewport means. Hope you understand. Does that clear it up? Yeah. Do you understand?
I believe that's clear. Thank you so much, Donald. Thank you so much for an insightful session. At least I got another aspect on how to work with layouts. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
So, guys, I will be dropping Donald's handle on the Discord channel. Please go ahead to you can follow him on LinkedIn as well. Hope you don't
Yes,
mind,
yes.
Donald.
Yes, sure, sure. I have you can follow me on LinkedIn, do Donald, or you can follow me on Twitter at Donald First. So any
All
questions,
right.
if you have anything to ask, I'll be glad to answer.
Okay. So thank you once again, Donald. So yeah, guys, you have heard him. You can follow him. I'll also drop the link to make it easier as well. So thank you for your time. Hope to see you some other time, Donald.
Thank you. Have fun. Goodbye, guys.
All right. All right. Bye everyone.